Hi again, everyone. I hope that you're all feeling excited for the start of our time together next week in New York, and that you feel that you've prepared yourselves through these online sessions these last few weeks and are feeling ready to start moving ahead and really thinking about how we can work effectively as peace researchers together. So this is actually a very fortuitous conversation, and I think it ties in well with the subject of this last session, which really was looking at Willioam Ury's third side model. The reason I wanted us to do that is because Ury, I think, does a good job of promoting the idea and explaining how everyday people can work as peace builders, and in our case, as peace researchers, and really, I think, demystifying peace work. A lot of people, for I would say decades or even centuries, I think overly complexified this idea that only high-level diplomats or government officials or people who are specifically trained to do so could really work in peace building or what was formerly called conflict resolution. But I think the model that Ury provides to us really shows that there are so many different necessary elements in peace building and so many different skill sets that are required that it really is a community-wide, or should be a community-wide effort. And that's why he shares with us these 10 roles from from his third side model. So if we just review for a second and think about this, I want to make sure that we're really properly prepared to begin our journey together. Because really we started during the first session talking about our own conceptions of what is conflict and how it's related to peace, and understanding that peace and conflict are not actually diametrically opposed, that a lot of conflict exists even in peaceful situations, and that the best thing we can do is really think about how we approach conflict situations and understand about the different forms of violence that in the next session, one of the next sessions we talked about in terms of Galtung's thoughts about structural violence and cultural violence, as well as direct violence, and understanding that there are distinctions between these things, and that we as peace builders or peace researchers can really unpack this and really think about it in a much more nuanced way, rather than simply thinking about this overly simplified notion of ending conflict or resolving conflict. And then, this of course leads us to this idea of conflict transformation that we thought about and talked about in one of the past sessions. Which is only possible, of course, if we employ the idea of conflict sensitivity and really understanding the context, understanding what the dynamics are, and knowing that it's not just about conflicted parties' positions and trying to sort of split the difference between them, but really trying to understand that that there are different approaches, right? That we talked about in the previous session, that people can behave competitively, they can behave cooperatively, um, and uh, and they can behave collaboratively in situations of conflict. And which approach people take often determines whether we find ourselves in a situation of violence or a situation of constructive conflict transformation. Um, but all of this is possible to a number of different parties, and to bring it back to Ury, what he's really telling us is that no matter where we're situated in a context where conflict exists, we can play a constructive role. We do not need to be high-level government officials. We do not need to be members of armed groups. Even if we are, as he says, teachers or providers or bridge builders, there's a very important role for us to play. So I want to make sure that as peace researchers, we recognize those different roles, that we think about which roles we're playing ourselves, and that when we're thinking about different stakeholders in the contexts that we're going to be researching, that we are smart and flexible in the way that we think about these different roles and the people who are playing them, and what sort of influence they might have in terms of making or building peace. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for now. I very much look forward to seeing everyone in person next week, and we can pick up these conversations both on the discussion forum as well as in the classroom over these next few weeks. So to our friends from ESAP, travel well, and we will see you soon. And I look forward to continuing this conversation for the coming weeks and the coming months beyond that. Have a good day.